Colin Dan here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life. gbhblofficial for short, and it's track by track time. Checking out the You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose, the third album from the hardcore metalcore band Knocked Loose, released through Pure Noise Records on May 10th, 2024. Notably, it's the band's first album to feature rhythm guitarist Nico Calderon. So, you been under a rock? Have you been living under a rock? Because there's no way you haven't heard about this album. Lauded all over by pretty much everyone, some extensively to the point calling it the greatest thing ever released, slash the greatest thing released this year, certainly the best thing Knocked Loose have done, and so on and so forth. Every so often you'll come across someone being a little bit more sensible, but I'm certainly not seeing anything particularly negative about it. So I went in with high expectations. I like Knocked Loose. I've always liked Knocked Loose. I wouldn't call myself a big fan, but I figured if everyone is saying something is good, it is likely to be good. Whether or not it's for me is a different story, but I at least accept that it's going to be good. And do you know what I immediately jumped at when I saw it? I went, oh my God, look at that track listing. Look at that length. This is a sensible album. They've gone killer here. Like, I looked at it immediately without hearing a single song, went, this is going to be all killer, because they've clearly not stretched themselves here. They've not gone over the top. They've not fucked this up and gone like, oh, we're going to do a 45, 50-minute album. And I was like, this is a good sign, even before I press play.
They do like to keep it short and sweet, which is always quite nice.
It is.
It adds to that, like, I don't know, this album, if you play it like this album, like front to back, it feels like you've been like jumped. And it's like, you don't want to be jumped for like an hour. Like 27 minutes is more about right.
Oh, it's so palatable, isn't it? It's so palatable.
For sure.
Well, let's get into it. I mean, kind of gauge our opinions as we go along there. We start with Thirst, and I figured this is just an intro, especially with the ambience of the start. But this one erupts and gets lovely and chaotic, Knocked Loose moving at an insane speed and sounding really fucking heavy. It is a great start. Talk about a track that's less than 2 minutes long, but knocking the shit out of you. It's like, damn, that's good.
I love when music's fucking terrifying, like absolutely horrifying. Like, I'm glad you mentioned about Nick doing new vocals, because for a lot of bands, third album in, you might find them trying to pander to audiences a little bit. Knocked Loose introduced another dude who screams. Like, now there's three of them. And in this song, they switch between the three, and they go back and forth, and it's so anxiety inducing. It, like I said, it feels like being jumped. It's like this song as well, like it starts out of nowhere. Like, this feels like I'm walking outside to the tube station and I am catching a lick from like the local, I don't know, guy who's jumping me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that, like you've chilled out, you're walking up the escalator, you've gone through the gates, you've chilled out, you've got your headphone on, and someone's just come running from the side, boom!
Yeah, just like, fuck you, just like,
yeah.
I'm like, but I'm like kind of enjoying it for some reason.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck. We carry on with Piece by Piece. I love that the heaviness is just as present, and while the tempo of this one is initially slower, it hits just as hard. It also speeds up an eye-watering style, but man, those heavy riffs with the blend of yelps at the front and deep roars at the back are to die for. I think I might want to have sex with this track. One of the best things I've heard this year from this genre. The ending, oh my goodness. Wow, what a track.
The constant tempo changes, the constant switches within it, like, and they're always playing off each other. One thing is always doing one thing whilst the other pulls itself back, and it's like they work so well together to like piece these things together. It's really well done.
It really is. Take our word for it, folks. But unsurprisingly, that is going to continue as we get Suffocate, which features Poppy. I like Poppy. I ain't got no bones with Poppy. So when I saw the guest, I was like, cool. I just want to get that out of the way there. But you know what? Even with that, I did not expect this track to be as intense as it is. And she is killing it here. And it got me thinking, is this the heaviest Knocked Loose album to date? Because this is fucking manic again and really delivering on more hardcore carnage than we've ever heard from this band before. But also, right, it's super fucking messy. But I love that. I absolutely love that. Rather than it taken away from it, I'm just like, this is stupid and I'm all in.
Yeah, like I want to see this shit live so bad. I want to see it live so
Yeah.
bad. I want to get the shit kicked out of me to this song. Um, I was stoked to see Poppy was on it because I've seen some of her heavy stuff and like the work she's been doing in the scene has been quite good recently. So to see a collaboration with Knocked Loose, I was like, that's gonna be really good. And
Yeah.
then, oh, who would have guessed it was really, really good.
Yeah. There you go. Don't
Yeah.
reach for me. A very grim start, and those drums are sounding so meaty. Then the burst of speed preceded by that shout, and I was immediately turned on again.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, God, I want to hear this track live. It is savage, and the pit is going to be sickening for it. I really like the tempo shifts, and the guitars are absolutely screaming in this one. Guess what? It's another brilliant track.
Yeah, I wanted to say lyrically, this song is so cool. Like the lyrics are so good. I was reading them and just being like, wow, I wish I could do that. Um, it's fantastic. It's consistent the whole way. It's messy. Um, it, the thing I always brought up when listening to it was everything is like anxiety inducing and terrifying. I think that's what they were going for.
I think it
It's
works.
fantastic.
Hear that? What are we up to? Moss covers all, pure chaos, and only 46 seconds long. The stop and start that introduces things is solid, but the breakdown of this track is where it's all at. Nasty shit.
46 seconds of like getting punched.
Yeah, banging. Take Me Home. Oh, this is a melodic one. The intro has some melody, a little bit weird, and this one seems like it's going to be a bit of an alt anthem as it moves on. But there is a tense feeling that I noticed in it, but for good reason as the intensity increases with the vocals. It's not the fastest, nor is it the heaviest, and it is a little too weird in places, but I actually appreciate the switch, especially as the last section becomes pure noise.
This one's scary as shit. It's like it's a song that like they had what was it? Moss covers all that 46 second. They had it
Yeah.
transition perfectly into it, and then it spends this like 2 minutes building up, only for Brian's vocals to be cut off because the guitar just like overshadows him completely. It doesn't even let him finish the word. And then it just turns into noise and gets worse and worse and worse until it's just quiet. And
It's
it's
good
like,
shit.
like just putting that in the middle of your album is like, what, why? It's so cool.
Yeah, they are killing it here. And then we get Slaughterhouse 2 featuring Chris Motionless. The first track that I think is just good rather than great. Although that doesn't mean it isn't highly enjoyable because it really is. I just don't really care for the addition of Chris Motionless. I don't think he adds that much. And the riffs, they're a little lacking in places. With there isn't as much urgency either to their sound, so it doesn't quite have the same impact. Basically, my issue with this track is I don't think it's as creative as everything else around it. I still think it's a good track and highly listenable, but not as creatively pleasing for me.
Yeah, I think they were held back slightly by Chris Motionless because I don't I don't really care for Motionless in White. They're fine. They've got some riffs here and
Don't
there,
offend me,
but
yeah.
the whole thing was that Slaughterhouse was a Motionless in White song, and they did Slaughterhouse too.
Yeah,
And I think that's why it's because they were trying to follow Motionless in White's more like metalcore sound, and also Chris Motionless is more of like that kind of I don't know. I don't want to say generic because I don't think he's a generic vocalist, but that kind of more metalcore sound, less hardcore,
very familiar.
very familiar to us.
Yeah.
And I think the song speaks for it, and it's fine. I understand what they were doing. It's fine. When you write an album that like is wall to wall bangers, you're allowed. I can afford you one where it's like I can see why you did this. This will pop off on the main stage at download or something.
I almost am glad it exists, right? I'm always glad it exists because it gave me a reason to write, like, because there's only so many times I can write, this is fucking great. This is
Yeah.
heavy. It's like, okay, thank you for giving me something that I can at least go, well, you know what? Maybe this wasn't as good and this is why, rather than, you know. And the thing is that it's still a good track. That's the joke. It's still a good track. It's just when you're on an album of bangers, it stands out as being the weakest.
That is
That's
the
going to
thing.
happen.
So it's like kind of positive us saying like this one's not as good as the rest, like because
Yeah.
the whole rest of the album's fucking fantastic,
Speaking of which, the car that keeps you awake, because I'm back to being madly in love with this record again, as this track delivers on the heavy creativity with some startling chunky riffs, really garish vocals, and for me, some intriguing and exciting progressive touches to the rhythm here and there.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of chonkiness here.
Mm.
There's that like whiplash, you're getting taken from here to here to here, and never allowed to like sit in one spot. It's the calm that keeps you awake.
Nice, nice. Okay, penultimate track, Blinding Faith. I love that this album has been all about being as heavy and as tight as possible, to the point where I can't quite believe it's almost over, and I'm stoked to hear even more chaos and carnage with this feral sounding beast. The ebbs and flows of this track is what I adore, from raging hardcore speed to slower intensity, all warped by their desire to smash heads and break bones. Fucking love it.
This song is fantastic. Imagine calling a song Blinding Faith and just like shouting about how much you hate the church.
Mm.
That's so cool. Like, it also helps that their visual identity is so strong on this album. Like, all the merch has looked beautiful, the videos have looked beautiful. Their stage setup now is like massive cross with like loads of trees surrounding it. It's really, really cool. And this song was the first single that started it off, so I hold it in really high regard.
Really, I'm actually really glad I never listened to any of the singles in the build-up. Just
Yeah.
hear it all fresh was great. And that brings us to the finale of Sit and Mourn. A nice melody-laced start gives way to a bit more instrumental anthemicness. Still, though, regardless, it is heart racing and heavy. And when the vocals arrive, it turns into another absolute rager. A very satisfying end.
Yeah, really interesting song for Knock Loose because they do the slightly more melodic stuff, but they never ever seem to lose what they're about. It's not straight melody. It's it still sounds like Knock Loose. It's aggressive,
Mhm.
heavy, um, nail biting, nerve grinding horribleness. I lost the words. But then
It
they do
fits.
add those bits of element like the melody that really stand out.
And the thing is, it fits in this album. It doesn't seem out of place, and it's the right kind of ending where you are combining the sort of nastiness and the heaviness with a bit more melody. So it is a nice ending rather than, you know what I mean? Because they could have really done anything. They could have done a really melodic outro. They could have done a 45-minute long bit of chaos, or they could have done this. Anything would have worked. That's how strong it is. I don't think it would have mattered. You end up just coming away disappointed that it's over. Satisfied, and I'm glad, like I said at the start, that you kept it so tight. But man, if there'd been a track or two more of this high quality, I wouldn't have complained either.
No, I don't think anyone would have, to be honest.
Yeah, people are right. I think this is one of the best things I've heard this year. Certainly one of the best hardcore toned albums I've heard this year. I'm not going to join the chorus of those voices saying it's the best thing ever. I think that's kind of hyperbole more than anything else, and that's so subjective that it's a little bit extreme. But I think it's the best thing I've ever heard from Not Loose, and I think it's one of the strongest albums I've heard in this genre as it stands today, when freshness doesn't always exist as much, and we're getting a lot of the same old, same old. This has all of the same old elements, but they're doing it in a way that is so exciting and so interesting and so digestible. I think that's fascinating to me, and I think this is the album that's going to blow them up. They're already a fairly substantial name, but I think this is the album that where you start to go, oh, this band could within the next year start headlining certain big events and being at the top of certain bills, whereas previously they weren't and stuff like that. You know, I think this is the
Do you know
path.
what? It's
The
like
path is laid out.
to the point where I could see them headlining a day of Bloodstock.
I'm not. I don't. That is where I go, right? I lean, but I'm not entirely sure just quite yet because, like, I would think, like, I would have put Malevolence right as potential, but Malevolence this year, for example, are subbing. I think Not Loose are there. I think that.
I think
I think
Malevolence are like a quarter of the size of Knock Loose these days.
yeah, but what I'm saying is based off popularity, like the way people they're champion and stuff. Like, I mean, like I'm not talking about streams and elements like that. I'm talking about just the word of mouth and talk online and stuff like that. And in regards to say using Bloodstock as an example, I feel like Not Loose could now, right now, based on his album, slot into the same spot Malevolence are in. As much as a tester, I don't think I'm 99% sure, 99.99% sure. Not Loose have never played Bloodstock. You know what I mean? Like, because that's
They
obviously
played
quite a
Bloodstock like last year.
did they? Of course they did. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you go. Yeah, you absolutely. Of course, you fucking did. You got your glasses knocked off your face. Of
Sorry, I
course they
lost my
bloody did.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what I've done. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Good correction on that. Absolutely fucking right. So yeah, so last year they were playing halfway up the bill. That was during the day, maybe about 2, 3, weren't they? About 2, 3 in the afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they've like blown up since
Yeah,
then, I think, like
that's what I
massively.
mean. So I think if let's say like next year, if they were to be at Bloodstock, I think they could be in a Malevolence position. Sub, maybe
Yeah.
not headliner, but sub.
I could see not headlining yet, but I think if the Bloodstock crowd weren't a bunch of bitches, Knock Loose could headline. But I think Bloodstock would be way too scared to put Knock Loose as a headliner. Because people would be like, no, where's Megadeth? Or something. I don't know.
I think that's quite dismissive, but you're not wrong. Not necessarily wrong. You're not necessarily wrong. Only because things have changed with like the likes of Parkway, even Malevolence played sub this year and so on. Things are changing, but I do think you are right. I think, my God, let's say Knock Loose was announced as a headliner of Bloodstock next year. I think there would be an element of online chatter that would go nuts. But you know what? Tough shit, basically. The problem
Yeah.
is that the next what Not Loose need to do, what Not Loose need really more than is festivals that cater to all. In the sense that they're an alternative festival more than necessarily a specific metal festival. So you're talking your downloads and stuff like that. They're not doing download anytime soon. Like they're not there yet. Not there yet. It probably needs another album, another really strong high-selling album before that, I think. And there's the problem. Well, it's like, well, okay, they're pretty much the two big ones in the UK. Where am I putting Not Loose after that? And it's like, shit.
I
Don't
think
really.
like Knock Loose are too big for Slam Dunk at this point. Because the thing is with Slam Dunk is their heavy stage is usually smaller bands than like I don't know the Slam Dunk stage, Dicky stage, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Because you've got like bands like Enter Shikari, New Me at Six Heaven and that. But Knock Loose aren't as big as either of those bands, but like I
they
think
could
even for
be.
they could be for sure. But I think on because the heavy bands are always smaller bands, I think they're way too big for the heavy stage.
Yeah, they're a difficult band to book at festivals at the moment, I think. And really, we got to kind of, because it's still quite early days. I think maybe come next year, see how the album did in regards to streams and sales and things like that, and that could really dictate things. Also, how quickly they capitalize on this. Do you know what I mean? Like, do they come back quickly? Do we get a new record within the next year to 2 years? Come back really
I was
quickly and try
thinking
and
that.
how
I
quickly do
was
they capitalize on it?
I was thinking Knock Loose. I think Knock Loose is smart. I think they know what they're doing really, really well. Um, I think they'd be silly not to come back to this quickly because it's not like I don't think it would be oversaturated at this point. You've got 27 minutes of this album that everyone loves. People want more. I think if they decided to drop another album like this week, people would be stoked.
I'm just trying to sort of see what shows they've got coming up next. I mean, the last show was on March. It was actually in March.
Yeah, I
Was in
know. I
March
couldn't
in
go to it
London.
because I was playing the Dev and they were playing what was
Yeah,
it
10th of
like
March, Sunday, 10th of March.
yeah, what was the venue?
The Forum.
Yeah, that was it. So
Yeah,
literally like
so
down the road. And we were
um,
playing Knock Loose covers.
yeah. That was pre this album being released. So like that'll be interesting. You did the forum. I don't know about Sellout or anything like that, but you did the forum in March. This album came out in May. What are you playing next time you come here? Like that's the question. If it's the forum again, like is then they really maybe haven't quite jumped up, like I think.
I reckon
But
it
you
could
know, I'd
be
like to see
like
him have a go.
Roundhouse,
There it is.
maybe Ali Pali with good support, maybe.
I don't run before you can walk. If the Roundhouse is the best shot, that's the one that jumped my mind. I was like, yeah, maybe that there, like that. You're right.
I think
Maybe
it's
Ali.
I think they'd sell out Roundhouse really quickly.
I think so too, based off this album as well. I think that's what people are going to want to hear. Is this shit played live?
Next time they come to London, I'm gonna be there because I was
There we
busy
go
last
then.
time. I'm gonna make sure I'm not busy.
Well, fingers crossed you're not. Okay, back to the album because we kind of went off a bit there. Top 3 tracks. This should be interesting.
It's
I'll
quite
go
a
first.
difficult one.
I'll go first actually. Yeah. I've chosen Piece by Piece. I've chosen Suffocate featuring Poppy, and last but not least, Blinding Faith. Could be really any of these tracks, to be honest, but those are the 3 that I think are the standout.
No, we have a bit of a theme of matching up on 2s. So I've got Suffocate, Blinding Faith, and Sit and Mourn.
Sit and Mourn, yeah? Okay, so just Sit and Mourn over Piece by Piece. All right, okay, cool. I guess check out Blinding Faith and Suffocate. They're the 2 we match up on if you really want to hear something interesting, because obviously Poppy as well and Suffocate, so we got Woman to feature. And that's interesting because we often, in our track by tracks, don't tend to go to ones that have features on them, because obviously it doesn't, it takes, it's, you know, so the fact that we're both choosing that one with Poppy tells you there's a bit of a fucking banger.
You know, you didn't listen to the singles, but Suffocate and Blinding Faith were 2 of the singles.
There we go. There we go. I
Yeah.
didn't. There we go. Banging stuff from Knocked Loose. It is a great album, well worth checking out, and really digestible. You only need half an hour a day and to enjoy it. You won't go before you're supposed to. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.